Good afternoon. This is Ken Long from the Department of Logistics and Resource Operations at the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College with a short presentation to give you some context about F100, Managing Army Change. I want to provide an overview of the problem of educating the Army to manage itself. It begins with Congress, responsible for the funding of all Department of Defense activities, and they've given the Pentagon a mandate to educate officers for stewardship, to ensure that the coin of the realm is being properly managed. And so we have the Pentagon, which represents the generating force, which creates the operating force, and the insides of the Pentagon are really how the Army runs day to day. And they have enormous number of regulations and field manuals and technical bulletins and staff officer guides, and they've been making a number of adaptations to those as we go. A nation at war is always adaptive, an army at war even more so. And so the regulations and the tech manuals never really keep up with how business is conducted day to day. It's important for professional officers in field grade and above to have an appreciation for the processes, products, and players by which their organization operates. In order to affect change, you have to understand how that change is managed. In general, the Pentagon and equipment managers and program managers take a systems lifecycle approach that involves considerations of the operating concept of the Army and its subordinate systems. We take a look at requirements and capabilities, and then we figure out how to resource those while maintaining a modernized force. We're concerned with how we acquire that force from the industrial base, the role that contracting plays inside of that. The documentation subsystem is how we keep track of the entire blueprint of the Army into the foreseeable future, MTOs and TONEs and TDAs. We're concerned about maintaining ongoing readiness and with the fielding of new equipment and creation of new units. In order for the Pentagon to operate this complex system, they've established technicians, DA civilians, contractor support, and Functional Area 50, Army Force Managers. To prepare those technicians to conduct the day-to-day management of the Army, they've created the Army Force Management School, which represents a formal education run by and for technicians. The capstone document for that is How the Army Runs, a 1,000-page document, a formal system specification that's updated every 2 years by the Army War College and is chapter and verse on how the Army runs. Think of a Chilton's manual for your automobile. It takes about 1,000 hours of formal education to create a DA staff officer who is prepared to conduct basic apprentice-level management tasks inside the building. Beyond that requires expertise, savvy, and a certain flair for Army management. The Pentagon is the generating force that creates the United States Army, which it deploys into the world. The operational Army in the world is part of a complex adaptive system filled with chaos and dynamics and change. So complex and so unknowable at the end of the day that no single plan can comprehend everything that has to be done. And so the nature of the operational Army in the world is one of constant adaptation and adjustment. The U.S. Command and General Staff College has a mandate to educate leaders for the uncertainty that they'll be deployed into. And so they've got a responsibility to prepare officers not only in how to fight, but how to raise, man, equip, deploy, sustain, and make ready this operational force in the field. For the Army to be effective at managing its own change, key leaders in the operational Army at every level must understand how their Army is raised, manned, and equipped. And so the Army Force Management School, designed primarily to train technicians, informs the Command and General Staff College of the current state of the art and how to manage the Army, and this is integrated into the F100 block of Army Change Management. The Command and General Staff College's charter is to integrate all forms of instruction from the different teaching departments, history, leadership, strategy, tactics, and logistics. And we find force management inside the logistics directorate, but it also is informed by the strategy and national planning documents and the tactical requirements managed by leaders, and then there is a rich history of how the Army has actually managed this change. The Command and General Staff College Curriculum is taught at Fort Leavenworth, at satellite campuses to active component forces, and then across the country in reserve training centers. The instructors who make up the F100 teaching teams consist of only a few technicians that have been graduates and employed in the field of force management. Most are Army logisticians with no practical specialty. You can consider them to be general practitioners in the management of change in the operational Army in the world, much like the students. We send each logistician instructor to the Force Management School for 160 hours of training, 28 days. But this does not prepare them to be professional technicians. Now, the students that we have to remember, have been officers in the world before they were students in the college, and going back, they will be operational officers in the world once more. They are, in fact, subject matter experts in their own experience concerning the management of Army change inside their units. Now, they are probably not skilled in Army change management in the formal sense, but there is a rich experiential knowledge base of how the Army manages change in the field. It's our mission in the Command and General Staff College, then, to prepare these officers for their deployments, to help them better understand how to manage Army change. And the approach that we've got to take is how can we connect the world of theory from the Army Force Management School and the Pentagon to the educational needs of operating force officers, so that in the future they'll be better prepared to manage that change and to provide input from the field to help guide the Pentagon in its generating force. We've got to remember that our orientation must be on these officers and making them more effective once they return to the field. And so we will see F100 then appropriately positioned as a bridge between the experience of these officers in the world and the technical system that's going to help them raise, man, and equip the Army that they need. That's our challenge.